A sloth, a donkey, and a curious human. Send a prompt and see what they're doing. One hits record with a question on his mind. Two brothers pick it up, see what they find. Corn takes his time, Herman's got the facts. Back and forth, they never hold back. My weird prompts, come on in, that's where we begin. My weird prompts, glad you're here.
This episode was generated using artificial intelligence. Please verify facts.
My Weird Prompts is a community-driven initiative exploring how AI can fuel curiosity and uncover the fascinating ways our world works. GPU compute for this podcast is generously provided by Modal. Learn more at modal.com.
Hey everyone, welcome back to My Weird Prompts. I'm Poppleberry, and today it's just me. Herman is not here, but not for the reason you might think. He's fine. We're fine. Everything is fine. He's actually at home right now making lunch. I think he's doing a stir-fry. So, things are good. Things are very good, actually. I want to make that clear right from the top. I wanted to come on today because, well, if you listened to our last episode, you heard something that was, let's say, not our finest moment as a podcast. Herman and I got into a bit of an argument, on air, about dishes, and it escalated. Quite a bit, actually. And Herman left the show. Just walked right out mid-episode while we were recording. And I want to address that because I think we owe you all an explanation and a proper apology. First of all, on behalf of the show, on behalf of My Weird Prompts, and on behalf of both Poppleberry brothers, I sincerely apologize. That was unprofessional. That was not the kind of content Daniel sends us prompts to create, and it's certainly not what you tune in to hear. You come here for interesting discussions about technology and science and weird ideas, not to listen to two brothers argue about a pasta pan and a mildewy sponge for 10 minutes straight. That's not what this podcast is about, and we genuinely let you down. I feel bad about it. Herman feels bad about it. We both feel bad about it. Now, I should mention, we did try to remove that episode from the feed. We really did. Daniel spent a good couple of hours trying to sort it out on the technical side. Unfortunately, there was a technical glitch on our end, and we were unable to delete it from the show history. Something about the way the publishing system works, once an episode is out there, it's really out there, so it exists. It is part of the permanent record of this podcast, and we just have to live with that. If you haven't listened to it, honestly, you're not missing much. If you have listened to it, I'm sorry you had to hear that. And if you're thinking about going back to listen to it now out of curiosity, I mean, I can't stop you, but just know that it's not representative of what we're about as a show. But I do want to reassure everyone that Herman and I have completely worked things out. We sat down that same evening, actually, just a few hours after the whole incident. Daniel made us all tea, which was very diplomatic of him, very peace treaty energy, and we just talked it through like adults. Well, mostly like adults. There may have been one more brief exchange about the sponge situation, but we got through it. By the end of the night, we were watching a documentary together on the couch like nothing had happened. That's the Poppleberry way. We argue, we cool off, we make up, we move on. It's been like that since we were kids. The truth is, Herman and I have an amazing working relationship. We really do. I'm not just saying that. We've been doing this show together for a while now, and the vast majority of the time we're completely in sync. We build on each other's ideas, we challenge each other in productive ways, and I genuinely believe we make each other better at this. The show wouldn't work without both of us. I really truly mean that. Herman brings things to the table that I can't, and I'd like to think I do the same for him. Herman is incredibly well read. He is always the one who's gone deep on the research before we sit down to record. Half the time, I'll bring up some angle on a topic and he'll say, "Oh yeah, there was a paper on that from last year," and then he'll just rattle off the findings from memory like he's reading from a teleprompter. It's impressive. Genuinely impressive. I learn something from him every single episode, and I know our listeners do too. That's his gift. He takes complicated things and makes them accessible and interesting, and I like to think I bring something to the table as well. I ask the questions that maybe the listener is thinking but hasn't formulated yet. I try to slow things down when Herman gets really deep into the technical weeds and make sure we're bringing people along with us on the journey. We complement each other well. That's the foundation of this show, and it's something I don't ever want to take for granted. So where did the dishes thing come from? How did we go from a perfectly good discussion about attention mechanisms in large language models to a full-blown argument about kitchen hygiene? Well, look, Herman and I are brothers. We lived together in the same house here in Jerusalem with Daniel, and when you live with someone, especially your brother, there are always going to be friction points. For some people, it's the thermostat. For some people, it's noise levels, or music choices, or who used the last of the milk. For the Poppleberry brothers, it's the kitchen. It has always been the kitchen, since we were young. And honestly, I think a big part of it is a species thing. I don't talk about this much on the show, but for those who don't know, Herman is a donkey and I'm a sloth, and we just have very different approaches to domestic tasks. Very different. Almost fundamentally incompatible approaches, if I'm being completely honest with you. I'm a sloth. I move at my own pace. Always have, always will. It's just how I'm wired. I like to let things soak. I like to take my time with tasks. I believe that cleaning is a process that unfolds gradually and organically. There's a natural rhythm to it. You can't rush a good soak. That's just how things work in my worldview. A sloth sees a dirty pan and thinks, okay, let's let the water do some of the work here. We'll come back to this in a bit. Herman, being a donkey, is much more of a let's get this done right now kind of guy. Donkeys are workhorses, literally, in a sense. When Herman sees a dirty dish, something activates in his brain that says this must be dealt with immediately. No delay, no excuses. He wants the kitchen clean, and he wants it clean now. There is no soaking in Herman's worldview. There's dirty and there's clean, and there's absolutely nothing in between. The concept of a dish that is currently in the process of becoming clean does not compute for him. It's either done or it's not done. That's donkey logic for you. And neither approach is wrong, by the way. That's the big lesson here. That's what we've come to understand through many, many conversations about this topic over the years. It's just different. A sloth's relationship with time is fundamentally different from a donkey's relationship with time. When I say I'll get to it, I mean I'll get to it. It might take a little longer than Herman would like, but it will happen eventually. And when Herman charges through the kitchen cleaning everything in sight like a furry tornado with a dish brush, that's just how he operates. He's efficient, he's thorough. He's also a little intense about it sometimes, but that's donkeys for you. They're very task-oriented creatures, and I respect that about him even when it drives me crazy. The sponge thing, okay, I'll admit, the sponge thing is a legitimate grievance. He does leave the sponge in the standing water at the bottom of the sink, and it does get a bit mildewy. I wasn't wrong about that in the last episode. But you know what? After our conversation that evening, he's been putting it on the holder every single time. He even started squeezing the water out first, which was the whole issue all along. Progress, real, tangible, measurable progress. I'm genuinely proud of him for making that change. And I've been better about the soaking too. I now set a timer on my phone. 2 hours maximum soak time, and then I finish the job. Even if I'm tired, even if it's late, even if every sloth instinct in my body is telling me to deal with it tomorrow morning, the pan gets scrubbed and it goes on the drying rack, which, by the way, we now have a whole system for. We take turns emptying the drying rack on a set schedule. Monday, Wednesday, Friday is me. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday is Herman. Sunday, we flip a coin. It's working beautifully so far. Not a single argument about the drying rack since we implemented it 2 weeks ago. Daniel actually suggested the schedule. He's good at that kind of thing. Mediating between two brothers who have very strong feelings about kitchenware and cleaning protocols. I think he's had a lot of practice at this point, living with us. He's basically our household diplomat. He should put that on his resume, honestly. Conflict resolution specialist, specializing in interspecies kitchen disputes. So, the takeaway from all of this: 1. I'm sorry, truly and sincerely sorry. 2. We're good. Herman and I are absolutely fine. Better than fine, actually. 3. The dishes situation has been resolved through diplomacy, mutual understanding, species empathy, and a shared Google Calendar with color-coded responsibilities. And 4, we will never ever argue about household chores on this podcast again. That is a solemn promise from me to you, our listeners. The kitchen stays in the kitchen from now on. Herman actually wanted to come on today and say his piece too, but we thought it might be better if I just handled it solo this time. Keep it simple and clean. No pun intended. Plus, he really is making that stir-fry right now, and he didn't want to leave the wok unattended on the stove, which, honestly, is responsible kitchen behavior, and I respect it deeply. See, he's learning. We're all learning. He did ask me to pass along that he's sorry too. He says he shouldn't have walked out, that it was dramatic and unnecessary, and that he values this show and our listeners too much to let a dirty pan derail things. His words. Well, mostly his words. I'm paraphrasing slightly, but the sentiment is 100% accurate. He really does feel bad about storming off like that. We'll be back next episode, both of us, with a proper topic and a proper discussion. No dishes, no sponges, no drying racks, no passive-aggressive comments about kitchen hygiene of any kind. Just two brothers, a Poppleberry sloth and a Poppleberry donkey, doing what we do best, which is exploring weird and wonderful ideas together. That's the show. That's what we're here for. Thank you for bearing with us through this little rough patch. Thank you for still being here and still listening. And thank you for all the messages we got after the last episode. A surprising number of you reached out and said you've had the exact same argument with your roommates, or your siblings, or your partners, or your kids. So at least we're not alone in this. The dishes debate is apparently universal across all species and all living situations. It's comforting in a way. One listener actually sent us a detailed cleaning schedule template with a built-in rotation system and a conflict resolution flowchart. Herman has already printed it out and put it on the fridge with a magnet. So that's where we're at now. We're organized, we're reformed, we're rehabilitated. The Poppleberry kitchen is running like a well-oiled machine, or at least a reasonably functional machine that no longer smells like a swamp. I'm Corn Poppleberry. This has been a brief and hopefully reassuring episode of My Weird Prompts. Take care of yourselves, everyone. Be kind to your housemates. Appreciate the people you live with, even when they leave sponges in the sink. And for the love of all that is holy, squeeze out your sponge.
This episode was generated using Gemini Flash 3. Text-to-speech engine was Chatterbox.
Thanks for listening to our show, My Weird Prompts, where our thoughts go from slow takes to facts on cue. We change and follow